To God be the glory.
Welcome back. Here we are ready to do lesson number 17 and talk a little bit about the relative pronoun and the Hebrew particle et. This is going to be a lesson that you'll really like because it's got some things that really help in our translating of the Hebrew Scriptures, especially when we talk about the particle et. All right, let's go right to the vocabulary that we have on page 97 and look at some new vocabulary words of importance. All right, we have the word see or to see, ra'ah, who, this is an interrogative, me, you pronounce me. Dream is chalom, or in the plural, notice it's a masculine word, but it does have a feminine plural ending, so that would be chalomot. The word heaven is shamayim, shamayim. The word blessed is Baruch. Ark is Teva. Moses is Moshe. Jerusalem is Yerushalayim. Joseph is Yosef. Prayer is tefillah. Whom is asher, in addition to which and that, which is also asher. The word flood is mabul. People is am. Here is, here are, or behold is hine. God is El or Elohim. Garden is Gan. Bread is Lechem. Rib is Selah. Selah. And then the plural for rib is also, because it is a feminine word, this is Selaot. And then likeness, our form, is temunah. Temunah. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of these words before we move on. One is the word lechem. We've already learned that the word for house, for example, is bayit. Sometimes that's transliterated into English as Beth. And then this word for bread, lechem, is, we put those two words together and we have Bethlehem, where Jesus was born. Here we have Bethlehem, which really means house of bread. And also when we talk about the verb to see, ra'ah, the name Reuben, Ru, to see, son, Ben, Reuben, see a son, is what she says at that particular occasion, see a son, Reuben. And so you can see by learning some of these words, you're being able to interpret and understand some names in the Hebrew Scriptures. All right, let's go on to the bottom of page 97 and look at the grammar and notes and talk about some of the relative pronouns. Who, whom, which, and that. All right, study the following carefully. We want to say the man who went to the house. That would be expressed Ha'ish, Asher, Halak el Habayit. Notice the Asher, the man which went to the house. All right, how about if we wanted to say the woman who ate from the tree? That would be expressed Ha'isha Asher, Akila min Ha'etz. All right, once again, notice the Asher, translated who. All right, the third one down, we want to say the prayers which are in the book. That would be expressed Hat Pilot, Asher Ba Sefer, and that would be the prayers which, Asher, are in the book. And that's what they're trying to emphasize here. And then if we wanted to say the song which is to David, or in other words, is David's song. Be Hashir Asher Le David. And that's, again, Asher being used, meaning which, in that particular occasion. All right, and then one last example. The horses which stood under the tree, that would be expressed in Hebrew. Ha Susim Asher Amedu Takat Ha'etz. The horses which stood under the tree. All right, what we have learned from this is that the word asher is a very flexible word. It's a relative pronoun that basically means four things: who, whom, which, or that. And so in any of the context, you just have to determine what it is that you're talking about when you use this relative pronoun. Whether you're talking about a person, who, or if you're talking about someone else, the boy whom you took to the garden, then that would be the way that you would express that or which, just depending on the context and what it is that you are speaking about. Now, the book reminds us on the top of page 98 that the use of this word asher is something that must be there in the text, even though in English it might not have been necessary. Now, I have some examples here on the chalkboard that will go to illustrate this particular point. Now, this says right here, the book which I took from the prophet. Now, in English, we could say, the book I took from the prophet. We would not have to have asher right here. We just say, the book I took from the prophet. In Hebrew, that is not the case. It must say in Hebrew, the book which I took from the prophet. That's the way that it has to be expressed. Okay, so that's the way that we use this particular word asher. It is something that does need to stand as a separate word. Now, the book also discusses the idea of sometimes the asher is absorbed into a word, and what you do is you just take the sheen here with its segol, you drop off the resh and you drop off the aleph. You just take the sheen and you attach the sheen onto whatever noun that you're talking about, or it could be the verb as well. I didn't mean to exclude the verb's possibility. So in this particular example, we could say ha-sefer, and then erase this, and do this right here, and that would be understood as which. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about learning this, and I'm not going to spend any more time on it than just these few seconds, because basically you're not going to see it very often in the Bible. Our book points out that this particular type of form with this on the beginning of it would be found in a couple of occasions in Judges, in Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon, and that's virtually it. Most of the time, you're going to have asher written separately, and so when you study the Hebrew Scriptures, that is the way you're going to see it, just like this. And that's the best way to learn that, just like that. All right? Now, let's go on to a different topic, and on this side of the board, talk a little bit about the Hebrew particle. The Hebrew particle et. This is one of the most frequently used words in the Bible. Very, very important that you get used to seeing this word and understand that it does not translate into English. It's just a word that tells us something, but it does not translate into an English word. All right? Here we have Adam ate an apple. Adam ate an apple. This is indefinite. Here we have Adam ate the apple. Notice the difference here? Since this is definite, then I have the particle et right here. Now this is basically written two ways. When it has the little line right there called a makef, then you go ahead and do the segol underneath there. When it doesn't have the makef, then you just make that a sere like that, still pronounced et either way. All right? Now, the point that we're making, though, is when whatever is the object of the object of the verb, receiving the action of the verb, it receives the sign of the direct object, the particle et. All right, so what is it that Adam is eating? What's receiving that action? The apple is. The apple is, and so Adam ate what? The apple. That doesn't translate, but it sure does help you see that this is what's receiving the action of the verb. All right, let's look at yet another example. I took the book. I took the book. What's receiving the action of the verb I took? The book is, so that receives the sign of the direct object. Okay? So what we're seeing is that when something is definite, not an apple, but something is definite like the apple or the book, then we know that it should receive the sign of the direct object. All right, also, let's go back to the top of page 99 and consider some of the examples that we have there. And will help us in working on this sign of the direct object a little bit more. Okay, top of page 99. First, we have the man saw. Once again, man is the subject. All right, and then you have right below that, he saw the man. This would be ra'ah ha'ish, or ha'ish ra'ah, translated the man saw. Now notice the one right below that. He saw the man. Now, man is receiving the direction, or is that which is being looked at. Therefore, we put the particle et in there. He saw the man. Now, if we didn't have the et in there, then it would look exactly like the one above it. The man saw. But now, he saw, what did he see? He saw the man. All right, let's look at the third one down. And the fourth one, the boy remembered, and he remembered the boy. All right, in the first one, boy is the subject. In the second one, boy is the direct object. So we have Zakar Hayeled, or Hayeled Zakar. And then the one below that, the fourth one down from the top, we have Zakar et Hayeled. Okay, what's the difference between these two? The first one, we have the subject immediately following the verb. The boy is the one that's remembering. But the one below that, Zakar, you'll remember, is Cal perfect, third person masculine singular. So he remembered the boy. And so because we have the particle et in there, that's given us a clue that yes, we are looking at something that's receiving the action of the verb. What is being remembered? The boy is. All right, let's look at two other examples here. Who took the book? And David took the book. All right, in the first one, who is the subject? And we're say, mi lachak et ha-sefer. All right, who took the book? All right, once again, we have the book is that which is receiving the action of the verb. Somebody took it, so it's going to have et. And in the second example, David lachak et ha-sefer. David took the book. Once again, book is receiving the subject of the verb. All right, let's go down and look at the next two. Whom did the father take? This is whom is the direct object, and the father took the son. All right, this in Hebrew would be expressed et mi lachak ha'av, translated who did the father take. All right, so we know that the father is the subject of the verb there because it doesn't have the sign of the direct object. If we wanted to say who took the father, what would we have different? Well, we'd have mi lachak et ha'av. Who took? The Father. And then the one on the bottom of the screen, lakach ha'av et haben. The Father took the Son. All right. Now, these examples, I hope, are helping you get a grasp on the sign of the direct object. The et governs the direct object when it's defined. It needs to be something that's definite. We are talking about a particular son or a father or a book or whatever the case may be, and the sign of the direct object will be there. Now, when translating a simple sentence into Hebrew, you may begin either with the subject or the verb, is what our book tells us on the middle of page 99. But let me suggest that I think the book is maybe leading us a little bit astray here, because almost always in the Bible you're going to have your verb first followed by your subject, and that's the best way to learn that. Whenever you're writing sentences in Hebrew, just get in the practice of writing your verb first and then having the subject immediately follow the verb. And that will be more akin to biblical Hebrew. Now, they told us in that first example that you could have Ra'ah Ha'ish or Ha'ish Ra'ah, the man saw, translated either way. Although that is true, that the second example where you have Ha'ish Ra'ah, the man saw, that's not something that you're going to see very often in biblical study. And so usually the verb precedes the noun. He saw who? Namely, the man saw. And so that, just with practice, will be something that you'll need to work on. All right? Now, we've also talked about that the particle et, generally used whenever the direct object of the verb is known or defined. In the first sentence that's given there on page 99, Joseph is the proper noun and therefore represents a definite person. Similarly, Jerusalem is in the second sentence, represents a definite location, and het, therefore the et is used to is added when these sentences are used in Hebrew. Now, once again, a couple of reminders. Is the particle et translated? No, it is not. Also remember that it is pointed with the sereh when it doesn't have the makef, the little line, and it's pointed with the segol when it does have the makef. All right. Also, one other little note: if there happens to be two direct objects of the verb, then you will have the particle et in there twice. And it's interesting, but we have that in our very first verse in the Bible, Genesis 1:1, that says, Bara Elohim et ha-shamayim va-et ha'aretz. All right, in the beginning, God created what? What received the object of the verb created? The heavens and the earth. So you have et shamayim, ha-shamayim, va-et ha'aretz. He created the heavens and the earth. All right? If the second example, you have the boy took the book and the garments. In this particular example, you got hayeled lachak. Once again, they put the verb after the subject. I wish they would do that. I would have written it lachak hayeled et ha-sefer va-et hav gadim. All right? The boy took two things. So both of them received the et all by themselves. He took the book and he took the garment. All right, let's go down to number 3 and look at the biblical word list. Once again, verbs occurring 500 to 5,000 times. Once again, add these to your list. Learn these well. The word to see is ra'ah. To remember, zakar. To create, bara. That's one we just talked about, isn't it, in Genesis 1:1. To build, bana. And to take, lachach. Lachak. All right, with all of these, you might have recognized in the word bana. This happens to be a key word, for example, in the book of Nehemiah, and talking about all the building that's going on, building people's lives, and building also the walls and the temple as well. Learn these vocabulary. Also remember that the pronoun, the relative pronoun asher, in something can stand for who, whom, which, or that. 4 different things that asher can stand for. And once again, if you don't understand the usage of the word et, then let me suggest that before we go on to the exercises, that you stop the tape, rewind it back to that portion in which we discussed the particle et, review that again and make sure that you have a grasp on how et is used. Remember, when something is definite, then you use et. Et is a sign of the definite article, that which is not the definite article, but the definite subject that's receiving the action of the verb. All right, let's now proceed then on page 101 to the exercises to translate the following into English. All right, number 1 says, Ra'ah ha'ish sus gadol ba sadeh. All right, translating that, the man saw a big or great horse in the field. Number 3, be katav Moshe et hadvarim ha'ele al haluach. Okay, this would be translated, Moses wrote these words upon the tablet. All right, number 5, we got Zakar HaMelech et Yosef va'et HaChalom. The king remembered Joseph and the dream. All right, number 7, Lachak HaYeled, Lachak et HaYeled, Lachak ha'av et ha'ladot ha'ele el ha'ir. The boy took. He took the boy. The father took these girls to the city. All right, and then number 9, we have Zakirah Hayalda et ha-isha asher lachekach et havgadim hayafim el habayit. This would be translated, the girl remembered the woman who had taken the beautiful garments to the house. All right, now let's go to the chalkboard and work a little bit on some of these next ones, translating the following into Hebrew. Once again, you may want to pause the tape at this point and work on some of these yourself. Maybe go ahead and work on the odds right now, and then see if your answers correspond with what I'm going to write here on the board. All right, the first one, I'm on page 101. He read a book. He read the book. That's what we want to do. And I think they asked us to do it, yes, without vowels. All right, so we'd have kara, which means he called or he read the book. Okay. He read the book. Notice I've got the sign of the direct object in there. That's because we're talking about he definitely read a certain book. So since it was definite, then we put that in. All right, on number 3, who remembered? Whom did he remember? Whom did the prophet remember? All right, let's do that without vowels again. Who, that's the word who. Remembered, Zakar. Sloppy looking resh there, wasn't it? All right, who remembered? Next we'd have et me, Zakar. And then the third one would be et me, Zakar Hanavi, like that. Question. All right. Number 5, we want to say he ate the apples. Okay, our verb ate, akal. He ate something definite, not just any apple, but the apples. So that would be make that plural. He ate the apples. All right, and we also want to say he saw apples on the tree in his garden. He saw apples upon of the tree, ha-etz, in the garden, gan, in this garden. All right. Okay, that's yet another example of that. Let's do number 7 together. See how well you're doing. Hopefully you've done these before I write them on the board to help you out a little bit and working on doing these things. He was in the country a year ago. Okay. Haya, he was. He was in the country, or the Eretz, the land. In the country. This country. Zot. That's feminine. Fani, that'd be before. Shana. All right. Go on to number 9, which says, he saw the man on this mountain. Ra'ah. He saw, what did he see? Definite object. Saw it, the man. Saw the man upon, get our verb in there, the mountain, ha-har, this mountain, ha-zeh. All right, so by looking at this and doing them yourself, hopefully you've been able to get a pretty good handle there on the sign of the direct object. All right, let's go together and to the bottom of page 102, and it says on F. Oh, wait a minute. Before we do that, let's go to translate the following into English on page 102. Letter C there, and we'll work on some of these together before we go back to the board. Once again, you might translate these yourself and practice your pronunciation and see if we are in agreement on these. Okay? Number 1, bara Elohim et ha-adam mean ha-adamah. God created the man from the earth. Number 3, ra'ah ha-ish et ha-or. The man saw the light. Number 5, Natan Elohim et ha-isha le-adam. God gave the woman to the man. Notice how we have our sign of the definite article, because the woman here is the object that's receiving the action of the verb gave. God gave something. What did God give? The woman. So you have et. Number 7, Amar ha-adam el ha-isha Shah marti kol bagan. The man said to the woman, I heard a voice in the garden. Number 9, la-checha ha-em ta-fuhim mean ha-etz ve na-tina la-ish asher amad mul ha-sha'ar. A little bit longer one. The mother took apples from the tree and gave to the man who stood by the gate. Okay. All right, let's go back to the chalkboard then. And it says translate the following into Hebrew. without vowels, and we'll work on a couple of these together. All right, there in number 1, we're wanting to say the man who went to the city remembered the house and the name. Okay, a little bit longer one, but I'll bet you can do it. We're going to put our verb first. He walked, who went? Who walked? The man who, asher. He walked who? The man what? Which to the city remembered. Well, I tell you, my rushes are getting sloppy, aren't they? The house. Notice how we can attach the conjunction onto our sign of the direct object. Put it just like that. Okay, so there we have the man who went to the city remembered the house and the name. All right, how about doing together number 3? All right, we read the beautiful prayer which you had written. All right, that's what we want to translate. Remember that Karanu, we read, what did we read? Here's a sign of the direct object. We read beautiful, which wrote. All right, there's another example there. Okay, and we'll do one more. Who is the man who went to the great city with the king? Number 5. Okay, me, that's who, is the man, Aish, who, Asher, went, Halak, to the city, the great. City's feminine, so we're going to have to make this feminine, the great city, with the king, Melech, just like that. All right, and then they usually put little question marks right there, and that gives you some example of those. All right, one more thing that we'll work on together just a little bit on the bottom of page 102. It says, translate the following into Hebrew. These are fairly simple, but we'll work on just a couple of these together on the board. I remembered. Okay, that's our triliteral root for remember. I want to make it I remembered. So I put my T on the end of that, and that'd be Zakar T. Just like that. Pretty simple, isn't it? I remembered. All right, he stood. Number 3. All right, those are our 3 letters for stood. We want to do the Cal perfect third person masculine singular, so that'd be pointed Amar, just like that. That kind of looks like a Dalet, doesn't it? Amar. Okay, and then number 5, we want to do you feminine singular went. Okay, our triliteral root is halak. We add the feminine singular onto that. So that would be just like that, and so this would be pointed halkat, just like that. Okay, and then do one more. 7, we want to do they have eaten, akal, That's our triliteral root. How do we make that to be plural they? We just add the oo on the end of that. Hak, lu, just like that. Okay, so you've have received some good practice from that, and that will help you in doing that. Once again, let me encourage you to continue on. What we have here is one more lesson that's just basically review. This is the last full lesson that we'll be covering that introduces some new material. Spend a little bit of time with the next tape as we review some of the key points that we've looked at in the last few lessons. And then also in the last of this series, going to talk a little bit about some of the tools that will be most helpful to you in your research. We'll be introducing you to Brown, or talking some more about Brown Driver Briggs, and also the Armstrong Busby Car book, and some others as well. Thank you very much, and stay with us.